Okay, so I think it's all set to go. Welcome to the part 6 of the classes for Dungeons and Delvers. We are going to be studying up on monks during this video, and as per usual standard environmental procedure, we are going to show you, and hopefully not boomer it, how you can get a hold of this wonderful game. Go to your friends at BigGeekEmporium.com. Randy and Joe have set up, mainly Joe, have set up a fantastic little internet mart for you to find whatever you're wanting to play. This is a independent location away from big corporate gaming. Now, that's not to say that later on they won't have big corporate games being sold here. But right now, this is for independent creators because those are the ones that need it the most. You get a better cut going from your wallet through Big Geek Emporium and directly to the people that need it to help pay their mortgage or their rent or feed their families. Joe and Randy don't make a whole lot they don't make a whole lot off this. It's as much of a little load as they can give, and they don't want to have it to where it costs them money, of course. But this is a fantastic website for the community of people that want to play a game, and they really don't need to have the most amazing artwork that has ever been done in fantasy gaming. We've already got it on our shelves. It's already been done. Frank Frazetta, God bless the man, but he's in the ground now. And you have places like this that sell quality products at low prices. You have STL's Adventures. The core rulebook for Dungeons and Delvers is right here. This is a hardcover version, $57.35. Great value for your money. You have a lot of other options if you want to play something else. Midnight Prairie, Weird Horror, Role Playing American Midwest. But everything, let's look what David Guile has. And not that the other authors here would have, something that you might want. This is a review over a rule set focusing on the monks today. But just to show you what else he's done, he wrote for Dungeon World. He has 10 treasure vault items, Sundered World, which is player fragments, Dungeon World GM screen for those of you that want to print off your own screen, the die pool system for Dungeon and Delvers, die pool system. So you don't want to roll a d20. You want to play something like Shadowrun, but you want to play a game that makes sense. Well, Dungeons and Delvers is great. You have both varieties of it. You have the D20 D&D style game, and then you have the die pool system, which if you're like, I want to play D6 style West End Games edition games. Either or. You cannot go wrong with it. Escape from the Flesh Catacombs. And also on here, you've got some other things. The Dungeon World Playbook for the Fighter, Golden Spiral, the Dwarven Vault, more stuff for Dice Pool. And here's the PDF that I have that I'm showing you right now. Dungeon World campaign setting can be adapted to any game system you're running. You could adapt that to Neo from Archangel Entertainment back in 1997, if you so choose. But it's a great little system, great little world, and David and Melissa Guile have written a fantastic game. Let's get into what we have for monks. As I scroll through the druids, and look at the fighter. What's that? What's the fighter do, Bruce? Everything. The fighter, like I said the other night with T-shirt, you'd have 12 fighters in your game, and they will be different. They will be different from each other. Okay. The monk, not fighter. Fast, Highly flexible melee warrior, trained in unarmed and unarmored combat. In addition to learning and honing various styles, they can be channeling ki to strike harder, shrug off an enemy attack, perform uncanny feats of finesse and speed. So we're going with the stereotypical monk of most Eastern mythos. That sounds pretty cool. Their adventure is exclusively to hone their skills, their entire quest, and there's always some fight that's bigger, badder fight out there. They're rarely interested in amassing golden gems. They have little need for worldly possessions. They believe them to be both a spiritual and physical burden. Magic items are another matter. They rely heavily on wisdom to supplement their ki and armor class. The highest ability score should be their strength or dexterity. Either can be used for the unarmed strikes as well as armor class, depending on your unarmed defense choice. So prioritize whichever you prefer, followed by wisdom. The author gets right with you at the table and tells you, set your character up like this. If you're playing this character class, set it up like this. You want to do this. So monks excel melee combat, and your talent choices can supplement your offensive or defensive capabilities. Let me close Gilded here. Okay. You have a stance talent. You want to start one of those at least. Since they offer a passive benefit that does not require an expenditure of ki, at low levels, you are more frugal with how you spend your points, and you want to save your ki for making extra attacks. I like this. This is the game master getting directly with you at the table and trying to show you this is not an easy class, but I'm going to tell you what you would need for you to do that. And I think that's great. It's not textbook manual or tech manual stuff in terms of writing and tone, but it's getting right with the individual that's reading this, and therefore you're having a conversation with the Guile family. Some talents offer supernatural abilities such as flight, being able to become incorporeal, healing both yourself and others, and creating walls of stone. They provide you with potent utilitarian options, but can also require significant amounts of ki to activate and or enhance. And while you gain ki each time you take a short or long rest, they only work if you have at least one ki. And if you're not careful, you find yourself depleted and considerably weaker in the middle of combat. Okay, so they get a lot of base wound points, 5 plus con, and at wound points at higher levels, 3 plus constitution. This is almost the same amount as fighters and barbarians, which is going to make sense. Base vitality is 3 plus you get 2 at higher levels. Fair. That's really fair. Let's look at their little spreadsheet. Their wisdom, you get wound points, vitality, you get ki every level. Attack bonus of +1, starting talents, flurry of blows, unarmed strike, D4, unarmored defense. All right. You get talent at level 2, level 3, level 6, level 7, level 9, level 11, level 12, level 14, 15, 16, 17, and 19. You get another one at 20. You get martial arts mastery, 4 multi-attack. That's pretty good. Looks like every third or every fourth level, go from D4, D6, D8 to D10. Slows down a little bit there. And then D12 at 17th level. Okay, that's pretty good. If you're multi-classing, unless you have the weapon kata talent, this does not stack with the attack bonus provided by the classes. You have to have weapon kata talent right there. Once again, the designer sitting with you and saying, if you want to be able to cheese your character out, here's how you do it. Unarmed punches, kicks, headbutts deal D4 damage. They're treated as light weapons. You can use either strength or dex to attack and damage. It's pretty good. At third level, it goes to D6, 7th. Flurry of blows. Use a standard action to attack with your unarmed strike, and use a swift action to make an additional unarmed strike without suffering penalties. You get a ki. You instead use your swift action to make 2 additional unarmed strikes. Now this is max ki is equal to wisdom plus your monk level. It goes up every level. That's pretty much necessary. We're going to see that here in a second, I have a feeling. During a short rest, you can meditate to recover all spent ki. During a short rest, during a short rest, all of your ki is recovered. And when you take a long rest, there's no additional benefit. So the monk is literally somebody who he could just nap. Not that I would recommend that. If you don't have a balanced party, he wants to do watches and he wants to be part of that entire "we're always ready" crowd. Because a monk should be. He should always be expecting a fight. I mean, everybody should, but he's the one that should rush first to try and delay the attackers that are there, surprising the players. He should always be there to try to delay them while everybody else gets up, gets their sleep out of their eyes, and finds their weapon, maybe their armor. We haven't found the rules for getting in and out of armor. Okay, so as a free action, spend a ki, charge your unarmed strike for a round. Per monk level for your unarmed strike is considered to be magical. It's a +1 to attack and damage. That's pretty cool. Unarmored defense is if you're not wearing any armor or shield, add both dex and wisdom to your armor class. Okay. Starting talents. You choose 2 talents which you qualify for. One must be a stance like crane or tiger. Masteries. At 5th and 10th level, choose a following benefit. Representing reaching a milestone, your path to perfection and enlightenment. Ground speeds increased by 10 foot. Get a +1 bonus to dex or wisdom. Get a critical range for unarmed attacks is increased by 1. During the action, you can change your stance. This is a free action. And each time you score a critical hit, you regain a D4 ki. You choose the mastery multiple times. And each time you do, the die increases by 1 step. I like that. You can benefit from the single stance without any ki. That's kind of necessary. At 15th and 20th, you get the following masteries. Base class is increased by 1 for your AC. Maximum ki is increased by 1. It's chosen multiple times if you so choose. You can have 2 stances active at once. Okay. And your unarmed strikes inflict a point of damage. An extra point of damage. All right. Go back to the talents. Here's we have some that are exploits, so you have to roll so high to get this benefit along with your unarmed attack. You only trigger 1 single exploit per attack. Unless otherwise noted, have to be using unarmed strike for the exploit to trigger. If a value is given, this is how much you have to spend to use a talent. If it's presented as a modifier, it must be added to another value. It cannot be used by itself. It costs 2 ki to use Abundant Step. If you want to teleport 200 feet, you have to go for 3 ki, 2 for the base and 1 to enhance. Saving throws. Well, your difficulty on this, the difficulty assigned is going to be 10 plus your strength or dex modifier, whichever your part of the attack is, and your attack bonus. Primarily due to manifestation of ki, such as Ki Blast or Dragon's Breath, and it starts at 11 wisdom and increases as you level up, increasing to 12 wisdom at 5th, 13 wisdom at 10th, plus 14 wisdom. Oh, wow. So, basically, as you have like a ki saving throw, if you're like a 12th level character and you have a ki saving throw against somebody, they have to roll, like say, just a 13 plus your wisdom modifier at 10th level. So say you've got a 16 wisdom, that's a +3. So 16 total on their die roll, plus modifiers. Any talent with stance is the same as stance. It takes a swift action to assume a stance, and you only can use 1 stance at a time. Some talents only function while within a certain stance, but unless explicitly stated, you use that talent that requires a stance, even if you are not in that stance or in another stance. All right, so you have a few different things: crane stance, serpent stance, and then 2 extra tiger stance, tearing claws. General talents are action without thought, blinding speed, calm before storm, change of course, crashing wave, meteor punch requires blinding speed as well. Cascade of stones. I like this. He's mixing it up. He's throwing combinations in this. This is something that David's kind of done throughout this so far. Diamond Soul, Purifying Fist, Dragon's Breath, Congregation of the Full Winds. Ki Blast, Ki Volley, Iron Body, Steel Shattering Defense, Unyielding Mountain, Weather the Elements. Chiron's Horn, Chiron races across the heavens, requires blinding speed, and Chiron's Spirit also requires Ki Blast. Pretty cool. Phoenix Talons requires your Crane or Tiger Stance, Resonating Fist, Quivering Palm. Yay! Who here doesn't love a monk with Quivering Palm? That's like one of the capstone abilities in most other versions of D&D. But Quivering Palm is the ability for you to make an unarmed attack against somebody, and they have to save versus death, or their fortitude save if it's a 3-0 product or higher, and they have to save or they die. Just the nerve emanations from the devastating blow will go right through them, and it causes them to just fall apart. And their heart goes, ugh! Cool. Light Step, Heavenly Ascent, Falling Star. Phoenix Wings requires Phoenix Talons. Steel Gives Way, Exploit. Stone Shattering Fist, Sunder the World, Earthen Rampart. I like this. Now, a lot of this looks like feat taxes, but I'm okay with feat taxes. I am a Dick Dungeon Master too, though. I mean, you did see on the YouTube, it says of Dick's Division, right? Okay. Surpass your limits. Tongue of the Sun and Moon. Weapon Kata. Wholeness of Body. Purify the Temple. Rising Phoenix. Requires Phoenix Wings and Phoenix Talons. Okay. So this is, here we go with the definitions. Action without thought. You must make a saving throw to resist or end the dazed condition when you're assisted. When you're dazed, you can spend a key as a free action when it's not your turn to end that condition. So when it's even not your turn, you can be like, I'm getting my cohesiveness and my cognitive thought process is returning to normal. Thank you. Assault the Unguarded Gate. As long as you have a point of Kai, and Serpent Stance, you ignore damage reduction granted by armor worn and against magical effects that you gain +3 armor penetration. Now, about this game, we haven't gone over it much yet, but armor provides DR. Not really so much dexterity gets figured into it, but armor gives you damage reduction more than anything else. So with Assault the Unguarded Gate, you're basically using some sort of power to where you are overcoming most light and medium armors. You have a chance to overcome medium armors. Pretty cool. You ignore DR granted by armor worn against magical effects. You gain +3. Okay, my bad. You ignore the DR granted by armor. So you can go to full plate, guys. That's pretty cool. All right, Bleeding Wound, Tiger Stance, Exploit 20. As long as you have a point of key, when you inflict a wound, point damage while in Tiger Stance, the target must be succeeding on a con save or begin bleeding. You can trigger the exploit on a creature multiple times. The total bleeding amount cannot exceed your attack bonus. Burning an extra key is a free action after the exploit triggers for 1 round per monk level. When a creature makes its saving throw to end the bleeding condition, it rolls twice and uses a lower result. Joy. Bleeding Wound maximized. Ha! God, I kind of want to play a monk whenever we play this. I will not be the dungeon master for this game. I like this game enough to where I'm telling people about it, and I think that this would be a fine game for those people that want to play a game that was birthed during like 2007 on. Like another game I prefer, but this game has got so much good crunch to it. Like it's the sweet spot between like 5th edition D&D or 3rd edition WotC and 1st edition WotC. Between those two, this is that perfect, and it's almost so crunchy that I'm like going, and I could make it crunchy if I ran this game, but I really want my friends to run this because I want to play a monk. This, David was saying Saturday night in a chat that he really wants to hear my thoughts on the monk. David, the monk's badass. Blinding Speed. When you aren't wearing armor and are not encumbered, increase your speed by 10 feet. Right there. Okay, young man and woman, this is what you want. As a swift action, you burn a key and you move up to your speed. So as an additional move, 2 key, and as a standard action, you teleport up to 100 feet to a point you can see. You can spend an additional key to increase the distance you teleport by 100 feet, but it's not exceeding 100 feet per monk level. That's cool. Body harmony dissonance. You have to have a stride breaking body blow or stride breaking blow and body harmony imbalance. Okay, if the target fails their saving throw when you use body harmony imbalance, they're instead stunned until the end of your next turn, and if they succeed, they're dazed until the end of your next turn. If you spend key to daze them for a round per monk level, during the first round they're stunned, and they don't make con saves until the following round when they should be dazed. If you burn 5 key... This is like, I'm going to kill this motherfucker. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. You're on my channel. You burn 5 key. If the target's levels equal or lower to yours, they're instead of stunned per 1 round per monk level. And the first time they succeed their con save, they're dazed for the remainder of that duration. If they're higher level than you, they're only stunned until the end of your next turn. If they succeed on the second saving throw, then the dazed condition also ends. That right there is I'm going to end you maneuver. I love it. Here's some other talents. Cascade of Stones, prerequisite Meteor Punch. Use Meteor Punch to push a creature and they collide into another creature. The second creature must also succeed on a con save or suffer half as much damage as the first. You could have knocked the second creature prone using Meteor Punch, and they both fall prone on a failed save. And here's another talent with increasing key costs. When the creature that's your size or smaller misses you with melee attack, as a reaction, you force them to make the same attack against another creature they can reach. You cannot force them to attack themselves. You can redirect the attacks of a creature 1 size category larger than you. You can redirect the attack of a creature 2 sizes category larger than you. Okay, so the game recognizes large, huge, gargantuan, and colossal. All right. So this is a very, very cool little game. Congregation of the Four Winds. It requires Farhand Technique and Journey of the Four Winds. Burn key 4 as a free action after making an unarmed strike attack, whether or not it hits. Your strike creates a whirlwind within 10 foot of you, occupying a cylinder within a 10-foot radius and the height of 50 foot. It lasts for a full round per monk level. And at the start of each of your turns, it moves in a random direction, a d6 times 5 feet. It's considered difficult terrain, even for flying creatures, and creatures that enter it or start their turn within that area of effect must attempt a con save. On a failure, they're suffering damage. On success, they suffer half. Structures suffer damage as if they fail to save. Little pig, let me in. All right, so you want to go with unarmed attacks that inflict piercing or slashing damage. It's going to be Crane Stance for you. When you have 1 key, you can use a reaction to hinder their attack. If their attack misses, you can move up to 10 foot away, automatically disengaging if necessary. Crane Defense. Your bonus AC is +2 if you're fighting defensively. When you use Crane Stance to hinder the enemy's attack, if the attack misses you, you can make an unarmed strike against them instead of moving. Okay, here's a note from David and Melissa. Many of the monk talents are intentionally not associated with a specific stance. This was done to avoid you having to decide which group of talents were active at a time, in case you focus on more than one stance. And this is done to make it easier for you to build your own style. You declare that your monk is a disciple of the Dragon's Claw, choosing Tiger Stance and Dragon's Breath at first level, and later picking up Lashing Tail, Dragon's Roar, renamed from Lion's Roar, and eventually Phoenix Wings, renamed as Dragon's Wings. You could also pick up Serpent Stance and Spirit Poisoning Fangs, call it Stinging Wyvern style. They can be tied to a race, like Dwarf style could have Green Stance, but more flavored that you're deflecting attacks with your hand instead of gracefully dodging. Then picking up talents from Iron Body and Steel gives away talent trees. This is very cool. It creates a dialogue between the player and the dungeon master. And you want to have those. You want to have hey, I have an idea for a martial arts stance. I want to do this. And I think that's important in the game. I think that's probably one of the most important things in the game because this wasn't designed to be a big corporate hobby. Back on Big Geek Emporium's talk, right? Well, this was designed by guys in a garage that had notebooks to fill up and do house rules, and they did a lot of house rules. And whenever people would come over to play with them, they would change rules as arbitrarily needed in order to have a smooth play experience. Because some rules will not work for every character or hero. Sometimes you'll have things change. And that discourse between the dungeon master and the player, that's needed in this hobby. You don't want to play a game where you're logging on with your laptop or tablet and you're moving your character around exploring while the computerized voice gives you a bland overall dungeoneering experience. You don't want to do that. You want to have a game where you and your players interact and you don't have 100% of the time on the game. You will have trouble staying to the topic of the game because you're going to have random people talking about, oh, yesterday, blah, 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 blah happened. And then one of the other players will discuss that. And all of a sudden, as you're playing through this game by the hours, you and your table start to become a little closer knit because as much as you might not appreciate 100% of everything that comes out of their pie holes, you will appreciate the fact that you guys are becoming closer as friends and acquaintances. You are appreciating the fact that this is a social hobby. And something like this that's put into the game rules directly is telling you that this is designed for you and your table to be different than all the other hundreds or thousands of tables that will play this very same game. And that's good. And that's a good thing. I know. I should never say, and that's a good thing, right? Okay, more of the talents. Crane's Escape. When you hinder an enemy's attack, if it misses you, you can move up to your full speed, disengaging automatically. Crashing Wave. Suffer no penalties when taking a charge action. When you charge, you get another +1 bonus to your attack roll. If the attack hits, you inflict an extra d6 damage. For a free action, if it's your size or smaller and hit by your charge attack, they have to succeed on strength or dexterity save or be knocked prone. Crushing Coils, my favorite Merilith ability. When you have somebody restrained, you can use your standard action to inflict automatic unarmed strike damage against them, plus additional d6 damage for every 5 monk levels you have. So grappling is a thing in this game. It has to be bludgeoning, but can include lightning if you have Chiron's Horn, fire if you have Phoenix Talons, or radiant if you have Purifying Strike. This is great. Diamond Soul, as long as you have a point of Kai and you have Necromantic and Radiant resistance equal to 5 plus your monk level. When recovering drained wound points and vitality points, increase the amount recovered by your wisdom modifier. Or by your increase the amount recovered by your wisdom. So, additional point of Ki, you have an effect that drains your wound points or vitality, and this was inflicted by an undead, demon, or similar entity once restored to the original value. Choose each time you use that talent. If it does not restore your maximum wound points caused by blood loss or drain, even if an undead creature or demon caused it. It does not restore your maximum. Wow. Spend 2 Ki, free action, for 1 round per monk level. If an undead creature, demon, or similar entity hits you with a melee attack, they suffer a d8 points of radiant damage. That's pretty awesome. Dragon's Breath. You make a cone of fire. 15-foot cone has to make a dexterity save. On failure, they suffer 2d6 fire, begin burning, and on success, they only suffer half damage. So they don't begin burning. Damage is increased by a d6 for every point of Ki. Cannot exceed your monk level. If the damage is increased to 5 die 6, the people that fail their saves are burning for a d8, and the damage is increased to at least 10 die 6 targets that fail their save are burning. If the damage is increased to at least 10 die 6, targets that fail their save are burning. Add a comma there, Dave. Here's a Dwarven feat, or Dwarven talent. Earthen Rampart, Sun to the World. Spend 3 keys, stomp on the ground, make a wall of stone to suddenly burst forth from the ground within 30 feet of you. It's 10 foot wide, 10 foot tall, and half a foot thick. It lasts until it's destroyed. Each panel of it is AC 12, as DR2, only damaged by appropriate implement or effect. Dealing 50 points of damage creates a small opening, 100 points creates a medium sized opening, and 150 points destroys that panel. If you use the wall to trap a creature, they can attempt a dex save to escape and make the save as normal. The wall is adjacent to them to choose which side they end up on. Otherwise, they're hindered. The wall appears further away than their speed. They cannot attempt the save at all. It's a pretty cool ability. Empty body means you're incorporeal for rounds equal to your constitution plus monk level. Flowing water, you can move through enemy space and ignore difficult terrain. You provoke an opportunity attack and they're hindered. You can spend a key point to ignore it entirely, though you have to spend it before knowing the result of the attack roll. If you're being physically hindered or restrained in some way, use a swift action. You can spend a key point to break free. I like this. Heavenly Ascent, Slow Fall, and Light Step. As long as you have a point of key, you get a +1 bonus on any skill check to make a jump. You spend a key point to make a jump with assistance. The distance you jump is doubled. If you spend 4 key concentration, you get a fly speed equal to your land speed for a minute per monk level. This is a very cool game. You can. There's enough variations of the talents to where just by book you could have about 8 to 12 monks, and they would want to play different monks. Not bad. For 1 round per monk level, your unarmed strikes release a powerful blast of wind. Small and medium-sized creatures must succeed on a con save or be blown back 10 feet. Tiny creatures can attempt to save, but they're hindered. If they are failing, they're blown back 20 and laying prone. Wow. This is, and you have increasing key costs to make it more and more and more rough. I love it. Large creatures can be affected for an additional 2 points of Kai. Or key. Key Blast, Farhand Technique. You unleash a blast of pure key against a creature within 60 foot. They attempt a dex save. On failure, they suffer 3 die 6 force damage. On success, they suffer only half. You increase the damage by 2 die 6 each time. The total damage dice does not exceed your monk level. Pretty cool. Carrion's Horn. Your unarmed attacks can inflict lightning damage. You charge with your fist with the lightning for an extra key point. It adds for 1 charge for a round per monk level, or until you strike a creature with an unarmed strike. They get an additional 3 die 6 lightning damage. Now you can add extra key to make more lightning damage, but the total damage dice of lightning cannot exceed your monk level. Key Blast and Kieran's Horn. It inflicts lightning damage. When you use Key Blast, its range is increased to 100 foot, and those that fail dexterity saves are dazed until the end of the next turn. Unarmed strikes gain a 10-foot reach, and this is distinguished from Farhand Technique that it doesn't require a key to use. Since it's a reach, you can make opportunity attacks as a reaction. Something else to note is that Farhand Technique does not require physical contact. It'll keep you safe from attacks that trigger by contact. Meteor Punch, it requires flying speed, crashing wave. When you take a charge action, if the attack hits the target, it has to succeed on con save or be dazed until the end of your next turn. If you spend key to force them to make a save in order to avoid being knocked down using crashing wave, they're hindered. Okay, you burn a key point after taking charge, but before determining the result of the die, the attack inflicts an additional d6 damage on a hit. Once again, can't make more d6s of extra damage than you are in monk levels. You need, here's a higher level one. Phoenix Wings require slow fall, light step, heavenly ascent, and Phoenix Talons. When you use heavenly ascent to fly, fiery wings emerge from your back. They increase your fly speed by 10 foot, get you fire resistance equal to 5 plus monk level, give you illumination up to 60 foot. When creatures suffer damage with you, when they attack you successfully, they get an automatic d6 fire damage themselves. Rising Phoenix. When you're reduced to 0 or less willpower or wound points, even if you've suffered enough damage to kill you, as a free action, you can immediately use Wholeness of Body. If this brings you up to at least 1 wound point and you don't roll for a lingering injury, but you still gain XP for 1 round of monk level, you gain all the benefits of Phoenix Wings, as if you had spent Ki on Heavenly Ascent. You're still dying as usual otherwise, unless you spent at least a Ki point to restore wound points, which in case you're automatically stabilized. When you get your consciousness back, you have to roll for a lingering injury as normal. And the other thing about this game is that it does have a little bit of common sense in it, where once you have fights, you have to spend the med kit action at the end of the day to bandage up your wounds. Otherwise, it gets infected. Quivering Palm, prereq of Resonating Fist. So you hit a creature with unarmed strike while Ki Strike's active, and you are giving him perceptible, potentially lethal vibrations from within the body. Swift action. You force them to attempt a con save. On a failure, they suffer 3d6 necrotic damage or half damage on successful saves. While the vibrations are active, your critical range is increased by 1 while making an unarmed attack against target. You can burn Ki for an additional 2d6 damage. Resonating Fist is the strike used before. When you hit it while Ki Strike's active, they have to attempt a con save. They fail, then for a round per monk level. Whenever they suffer damage from your unarmed strikes, you roll twice and use a higher result. 2 Ki. Whenever anybody deals damage to the affected creature, roll twice and use a higher result. Okay. We're going to wrap this up. I really appreciate what I'm seeing here with the monk. I think the monk is a fantastic class. When we get a chance to sit down and play this game, this is going to be the class that I want to play. As much as I want to play a wizard, I think I'm going to go with monk. It just it looks like a real fun class. Weapons you're proficient with can benefit from the flurry of blows. If your unarmed strike damage die is higher than the weapon you're using, you deal +1 damage. If you're using multi-classing rules, then your monk's attack bonus can stack with that provided by the other classes. This is how you're supposed to do it. All right. Next video, we will discuss the Paladin. And for those of you that are still here, it's a long video for this. We're just going through the classes right now. I want to do a deep dive on this. I think a deep dive is necessary. I feel that people need to see the mechanics of a game, and you can't do that with just a 5-minute review. I love a lot of review channels, but a lot of them don't go into it nearly enough. This game is a great straddling point between 3rd edition and 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. It's not going to satisfy everybody, but there's a whole swath of people that will see this game and how the pneumatics work and how everything fits together, and they're going to want to play this. They should take a deep look at it. An RPG is not something that you just kind of like, okay, just grab a book and we'll play it. No, you have to study it. And a lot of times with games, a lot of people don't understand that there are times when you play a game and the dungeon master's going, it's written like this. And they just kind of like get this lip snarl, like a dog getting ready to chew apart a piece of meat you've got in your hand and you dangle it in front of their face. I don't have that problem with this game. I'm getting some serious vibes of Rules Cyclopedia because that game is a more complex game than Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. That game has a lot of love in it. And for those of you that have heard me talk and pine about the old days, you know what I'm talking about. You know how I miss some aspects of the earlier styles of play. This game feels like it's pulling you back towards it. It's got a lot of new game theory in it. A lot of new game theory that's very appreciative. From this dungeon master, I look at this and I I would have no trouble wanting to teach my nephews or nieces this. This is a perfect game to play. For those of you that know me, that you know I'm an only child, but my cousin and I are fairly close, and her kids seem to call me Uncle Bruce. So this is a game I would be more than happy to show them how to play and what to do, and give them the guidance so they could learn how to exactly enjoy a proper tabletop game. This is it. This game, it succeeds on every level so far. At first I was kind of put off by the art, and I thought, God, this has a smoky eye look from Drew Barrymore 2010. And I was not happy. But the more I've been looking at this book, the more I see how everything fits in so well. Everything fits in so well with this here. And this is exactly the type of game that you can share with your friends. It's written very plainly. There's very little reason for, in my opinion, David to want to do a second edition. If you want in the future, not right now, not 2024, you can do a second printing of it, and you can fix your little typos and the comma and punctuation and grammar shit. That's fine. But this is a really good game. And I think there's a lot of people out there that would really enjoy a game that does dial it back a bit, and it takes a lot of the crazy out of the current tabletop market, and it says, go away, crazy. This is a game for serious players, for serious long-term play. You have a lot of races in this game that are not normal to other games, and you have a lot that's been derived from actual mythos and lore of our own world put into this game. So when you're looking at it, you really don't want to look at it like, oh, this is just a D&D clone. I could buy the same thing from the Drive-Thru RPG for $25. You could. It's not the same thing in the least bit. It's actually an inferior product. I'm going to stand out and say completely that if you're going for an earlier edition of the game and you're comparing it to this, you've bought an inferior game if you bought that. Because Hasbro isn't interested in raising the quality of their product. They say they are. They're spending a lot of money on a computerized version of it, and I don't think that's going to provide you, the player, much fun. You're going to go through it, and after about 7 adventures, be like, okay, well, I guess we're done with this. Let's go watch Scrubs or repeats of Big Bang Theory, because you're normies, and you are. Those aren't games for people that want to play long term. This game is. I have no problem saying that. I have no problem thinking about running a game like this, or running this game in Tolus, or running this game in the Frog God Games world. I think this is a fantastic game system. You might have to rework some of the races to fit the Lost Lands. Okay, that's pretty easy. The Lost Lands already has a lot of the Oriental style races on one of the continents far away from the normal locations where a lot of adventures happen. And so it wouldn't be hard for you to figure out as a dungeon master where you'd want to place these. In fact, for those of you that already have a game going on in Greyhawk or the Forgotten Realms, and you're just getting beat up by your players because there's so much crap on Tumblr and Twitter, and people are telling the players that the dungeon master isn't the boss of the game. You are. Take your game back. Take your table back. For you that were born a man, that are happy with your penis, reach down, grab your balls, tell your table, I'm the dungeon master. What I'm going to tell you at this table goes. I'm not going to tell you how to run your life, but while we play this game, I'm the final arbiter. And you want to be fair with them, but you want to make sure they understand you're the one running the game. So if you're going to use Dungeons and Delvers to run in a Greyhawk world, it's completely feasible. It would be completely feasible to do it. You could say that the kobolds are, something's happened. Oh, well, we've got the Isham over here. First off, Dungeon Masters, Greyhawk is about the size of Massachusetts. It's not a big world at all. So if you go to Oworth, or not Oworth, but the world for Greyhawk, you're looking at a very small area. I think Daggerfall from Elder Scrolls series is actually bigger than Greyhawk. And I wish I wasn't right on that, but I'm right. If you're going to run this game using a pre-existing TSR creation, you very well could. And I almost would bet you that as long as you're running it and you have the confidence as a good DM should, when you're running the game, it's your game. It's not anybody's game before you. It's your game. But what about this book that I read where Elminster or Drizzt did this? Shut up. You're in this reality right here. Those people might have been alive at some point in this world, and they might be alive now. But as a man arbitering this game, I don't care about them. I care about the immediate landscape around you. How are you affecting it? Who are you talking to? How are you interacting with this world? You don't worry about the 17 novels that have come out to try to force a lore which you might not agree with that would be a crappy storyline. God, I'm looking at you, Ed Greenwood. But I'm going to tell you that if you want to play a game, Dungeons and Delvers is completely in that top tier of games that you should really wrap your hands around. Get the book or PDF, preferably the book. Get the book and look at it and understand why he has things set up as they are for the races. I'm starting to understand the classes so much that I'm very much interested in actually reversing my theory that I don't want to run this. I want to run my own system. I'm thinking that this would be a good world for one-shots. It would be. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself. We're only at monks, and next is paladins. Paladins, I have a love relationship with. Not a love-hate relationship with, a love relationship with. Because as a dungeon master, if you have a paladin in your group, you don't have so much shenanigans. And that is a good thing. Have a great night, everybody. Sorry it took so long to get this video out. I had a few things I had to say. And the 3 other times I started recording it, I would go off topic into places that did not need to be discussed. Now, some of you don't think that all this was required for the monk, but at the same time, for dungeon masters out there, I want them to be able to hear this because there is a lot of people out there trying to tell people how to run their games. Don't let people tell you how to run your games at your table. It's your table. It's your game.